Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast. I am your host, Perry, and actually, I'm on my own this week. Swan is taking the week off. He has had a lot of stuff going on with work, and he just needed a little break. So, if you are a first-time listener to the show, welcome in. If you want to hear what it's like when I have co-hosts, check a couple episodes back. We appreciate everybody who is not just a returning listener, but also anybody who is hopping on for the first time. If you've not yet, please, of course, subscribe to the show, share it with your friends, all that good stuff. Leave us a rating and a review, too, if you are in the iTunes podcast app. No flying blind this week, but in honor of our special guest who is on the show, drinking some Kentucky Owl Confiscated. That's right, Dixon Dedman has returned once again to the podcast space. I'm incredibly excited for you guys to check out this conversation. I had a really good time recording it with Dixon. And if you go back to the first episode that he and I recorded together, I believe that was in the fall of 2018. I think I put that out the week of Thanksgiving that year, so the third week in November. And it's crazy to see how much our relationship has changed, how we've kind of, and we touch on this a bit as well, how we've kind of gone from, interviewer-interviewee relationship to really being friends and being able to sit down and just kind of catch up some. So I look forward to hearing what you all think about this week's episode and this conversation with Dixon. We'll do a couple of things before we get into it. Flying blind, of course, we're not doing. I already said that, but I'll run through some what I've been drinking recently. I've been kind of steadily working my way through a Knob Creek single barrel from the from our local Kroger Wine and Spirits. I did crack open a couple of bottles with Papa Ritter over the weekend. We recorded our Passing of the Torch episode in preparation for Baby Bear coming along, Baby Ritter. She'll be here before we know it, which means that we will be soon heading into some banked episodes. So you're going to have a few weeks of content that Swan and I have actually already recorded, and potentially there's going to be some special guests hosting the show without me. Of course, and I appreciate them for taking the time and offering to do this. I didn't reach out to them. They kind of offered up that opportunity to me, and I had a hard time saying no. They've not recorded it yet, but I do look forward to hearing what those episode turns into. So, I think that really kind of about does it for the info up top and for all of the business up top, too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it over to our little interview that I got to do with Dixon, and I'll be back at the end of the show for a few more segments and to wrap things up. See you soon. Always 100% biggest, funnest pleasure to get to sit down with my buddy and yours, Dixon Dedman.
You're
and
setting yourself up to be let down, old buddy.
You've had a bunch of stuff going on. I wanted to come by and chat about some of it, but also this is I figured a good way to kick off Bourbon Heritage Month.
Yes.
Too. So I poured something for you in the spirit of Flying Blind, which is how we normally start shows off. And this is an experiment that that Swan and I did a couple weeks ago. I'm curious what you might think about it. And I know I do this to you 9 times out of 10 when I see you. But
what do you mean it's an experiment? It is always good. People are always like, here, try this and tell me what it is. Guess what it is and tell me what you think it is. And then it's like, oh, yeah, this is a whole bunch of random stuff that we mixed together and put in a wooden container and drove it around the state for a few days. And
had the governor sniff it.
Yeah, so there's absolutely no way you've ever had this or anything like it. You got it wrong, jerk.
I'm not even trying to stump you with it. I'm just curious. You know what? Fine, I'll go ahead and tell you what it is. No. Okay, all right. Because I don't want. I'm legitimately not trying to to stump you or anything. It's fun to watch you work through it. I will say that much. But at the same time,
I can't tell out of the gate, and I don't know. I haven't really had I had to taste a couple things earlier today. I had to approve a couple things, but it's been a while before lunch. But I'm not. It's got to be. I'm thinking this has got to be lower in proof. I'm trying to get into the nose, and I'm having a little.
We'll see what happens.
Interesting. It's a lot. I don't know. That's really nice. And there's at first I was like, it's got this great finish, but it's not like it does. It does have a little bang towards the end of it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. It's not like some long lingering, there's more viscosity here than I would expect.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the lower proof that I think it is.
I think the proof might be throwing you off just a little bit, and I don't know exactly what this proof is either. I'll say that much. But we were recording an episode a couple weeks ago.
It's kind of buttery.
Yeah. And we thought, what would it be like if we just blended a little bit of Armagnac with bourbon?
Okay.
And that's what this is. This is a vintage, a 2000 vintage, 19-year Armagnac blended with rare breed.
Okay. I get the rare breed kind of kick on the back end.
Yeah.
And in the nose, there was a little bit of what I thought was a youthful note. I thought that you were going to tell me that this is something that's got like a little, some younger stuff that you blended with some older stuff or whatever. And I think that youthful note may be that little bit of Armagnac on the nose. It's like a. Now there's a touch of a winey note in there.
Right. But I've kind of discovered over, the past couple of years, I really like Armagnac.
Yeah.
I think it's really a delightful spirit. And when somebody asks, if all the bourbon and rye in the world suddenly disappeared, what would you drink? Armagnac, I think, would be my go-to answer.
I think, just from what I've had, and I have several friends who feel the same way, who are almost moving on from bourbon to Armagnac.
Yeah.
And the other one is rum. There's a lot
absolutely.
of good rum so I get it. It's funny too because I go home and a lot of times it's like, oh, you either have a bourbon or have something else.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's have something else. But that's just because I've almost, I come in here, I taste some stuff, I work on them. I've worked on so many things this year already. Yeah. And so it is, I get it. I think having another weapon in your arsenal is not a bad idea.
And there's only so much beer you can drink, and wine is fine for the most part. But I like that Armagnac is that kind of if bourbon were a wine. You know what I mean? Like that's how I've always interpreted it, at least from my point of view.
Well, and I think that that there's a future in these types of blended spirits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Craft blended spirits. I think there's a real opportunity to build great whiskeys that are balance of bourbon and rye, and there's great opportunity to build great kind of American spirits that would be blend of this and whatever. So. I think y'all did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
Here.
Just throwing it together.
Yeah, I just a touch of this, a touch of that.
So what can we do to make this the next Kentucky Owl release? I'm just kidding.
I got to find some Armagnac first, I guess.
Speaking of Kentucky How, you've been diligently working on batch 10. Batch 4 rye is now in the books too. Ish. Oh, I thought that it had already been approved and.
Oh no, definitely. It's just not the whole packaging process is not complete. There's a batch. This rye is going to actually come in a tube in a cylinder.
Oh wow!
And so the cylinders will be the batch number and proof will be handwritten on them. But the tubes themselves, because of the Rona, as I like to call it, but whatever. I mean, everything is delayed. I mean, know, and slowed down. So it's done, but the just even working with our partners that do our do the bottling and labeling and all that stuff.
Right.
I mean, when they have to go through every step of ensuring, I mean, their employees and bringing these people in, and,
right.
And I mean, it's really slowed everything down.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I didn't mean to say it wasn't happening. It's just
no, not at all. But what's been kind of postulated, I guess, is this your last Al Rye?
This is not the last Al Rye batch forever.
Yeah, but for now.
But for the time being, yes.
Why now? Why stop at batch 4 right now?
Well, Perry, what happens is...
You've got 3 kids and a wife, and you've only got so much time.
No. I mean, my 3 kids and my wife are so expensive. I need to keep making more and more and more as quickly as possible. No, I mean I have stocks of rye. I don't have stocks of rye that I am ready to put into this program.
There you go.
And I'm not. That program was so successful based on the liquid. I mean, it was just that damn good, and. I'm not going to follow that with something that I don't think can live in that. Sure. In that. So until I'm able to put something together that I think is worthy of being number 5.
Sure.
It's not going to happen.
I mean, that's totally fair. Oh, is this it?
Yeah, you want to try it?
I'd love to. We'll go back and forth on sampling then. I have one. I brought one that I want you to try purely because of how bad it is.
Oh, okay.
If you want to taste that while I'm tasting yours, pour it in a separate glass as well. We've talked about it on the show before. This is Hawaii's first bottled bourbon.
I don't even. I don't. Where did you get this?
One of our listeners shipped it from Hawaii to me.
Okay. And okay. I mean, I'm just. Well, it's an award-winning distillery with award-winning products. That's what it says. Distilled from grain, unaged.
It's fascinating.
Did they color it? They artificially colored it?
Honestly, I have no idea. That's what I would assume based on the label.
I've got to be real honest with you because I think you expect that.
Always.
What makes me nervous about this is kind of the color of like next morning pea. You know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to get a little worried that you're like, now I'm really gonna put. I've been saving up my
grandma's peach tea.
Yeah, but it says Mahalo Bourbon Hawaiian Whiskey. And my guess is by using a word in between bourbon and whiskey, they're actually not saying it's bourbon whiskey. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they're trying to qualify it as something else.
Well, they're basically getting around it being qualified as anything, because this says distilled from grain and unaged, which clearly means that. I mean, well, I don't know.
I just really wanted to see what you would actually think. I promise I have not tampered with what's in this bottle.
Yeah, I'm afraid it was tampered with before you got it.
It does. I'm not gonna spoil too much for. Not that there's a whole lot to be spoiled.
There's corn in there, or something.
That's a good way to describe it. He did it. He drank it, folks.
80 proof. It's new make. I mean, it
absolutely is.
It's some sort of new make, and it's some sort of, and it's not super. It's not super like corn mashy, which, and it's obviously not. It's not fruity that you expect when there's a lot of rye. And I don't. There's no telling what. I mean, it's not like they have a whole lot of corn or whatever on the Big Island, right? This is very interesting. But all that aside, for just new make, cut to 80 proof, it's not terrible.
It's not the worst thing I've ever had.
Well, but you have to quantify what it is. Like,
of course.
You can't put this up, but like, I mean, it's
you're not putting it up against Rare Breed.
Well, I've had a lot shittier new make than this. If that, I don't know.
If that's possible.
Yeah, I expected this to be a lot worse than it is. They may have some. I wonder if this is like from grain, but
yeah, that's one of the things that really
a little coconut mixed in there or something like that.
I'm trying to see if there's any information on their website, but no, you hit find out more, and it just takes you to a different page that doesn't have any info on it. It was one of those things where I was like, Dixon's got to try this.
Yeah,
and it wasn't a gotcha thing either. I feel like I keep having to kind of qualify what I'm telling, what I'm bringing to the table with you too.
I'm fascinated by just the fact that the label had like both of these clear. There are so many bubbles under this thing. Like it wasn't even like it's clearly applied by hand, and interesting. I hope I don't want to offend anyone, but
no, of course not.
It's not. This is
on the opposite end though. Rye Batch 4 is fantastic.
Mahalo. That means something, doesn't it?
Is that another word that also means hello? I don't know. Rye Batch 4 is delicious, though.
Thanks, man.
112.8 proof?
112.8.
How you have posted a bunch about blending Bourbon Batch 10. You went in for
I think I'm done with that. I'm gonna put that to the side.
You got as much out of it as you feel like you can.
I don't. It's not what I thought. It might be one of those things you were gonna put in front of me, and I was just gonna. It was gonna be like, dead animal type thing. It's not that. It's weird. It's not that.
Beaver butt.
I'm a little bit nervous that it may, like, I don't know, make me go blind in one eye or something like that.
It's the new rock gut.
I don't know.
That would be a great marketing scheme. What's the new rock gut?
I would love to go out there and consult at this facility if they wanted to fly me out.
There you go. Take a nice little trip to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. We'll do some blending.
But speaking of blending, I was kind of working towards this. You have been posting a bunch about the work that's gone on with Bourbon Batch 10. Mm-hmm. And how do you feel like this compares to the other blending projects that you've gotten into with Kentucky Owl? Because it seems like, and it could be just because we're peeking more behind the curtain, but it seems like you're being a lot more diligent, or you were a lot more diligent in the blending process. With
I
batch
don't
10.
know if I necessarily was, or if I just maybe was posted more about it or something like that. I mean, I don't think I went any deeper. It's harder. It's getting harder because these this inventory is really. I mean, we've got an arsenal of great barrels and lots of different ways to go with it, and that becomes a challenge in and of itself, is like kind of figuring out which path we're gonna, or which path I'm gonna follow or whatever. But I got to I got down to one place and then decided that I'd taken a few too many steps in this direction.
Oh, wow, okay.
And which is normal. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, and so I kind of pivoted from a couple steps back and then went that way and it's funny, and I really am not sure that I've really spoken about this on because we talk a lot about the blends and how you create the blends and stuff like that, but what is becoming more and more of a challenge, and I don't have my notebook with me or I'd tell you specifics, but I think that there are at least 6 different bourbons of different ages that are in batch number 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's not like you take stuff that's 15 years old and you add the same amount to a blend of stuff that is 7 years old.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to, you say, okay, the 16-year-old stuff, the 16-year-old barrels, each yield this number of gallons.
Right.
And so you've got this much, and the 7-year-old has twice as many.
Right.
So a lot, there's a lot of ciphering to be done to figure out that, like, okay, even though we're talking about 18 barrels of this 16-year-old stuff, it actually only makes up 10% of the volume of the final blend.
Right.
And so there's a lot of kind of guesswork that's involved with that, and trying to I have to go and look at these barrels and beat on these barrels and try to figure out the volume in each of these things, so that when we create these blends, you can really make a blend that's hopefully very representative of what the stuff tastes like when you dump it all together. and so there's a lot that's kind of that's a bigger part of it than just being like, oh, okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of this and I'm gonna throw a little bit of that in there and I'm gonna do it, and so but that whole process is it is my favorite part of any of this. I mean, it is something that I can't sit there and be like, oh, I'm gonna go blend and taste whiskey for 5 hours.
Yeah, of course.
That doesn't. I mean, the people all the time are like, hey, I'd love to come blend with you. It's like, well, look, it doesn't. I may blend a couple things and taste a couple things, but it's not like I just start at 8 a.m. and I just keep throwing stuff in a bottle and tasting it and, whatever. But the development, watching it develop and moving from one to another and watching how like you just change one little thing and that you think may just affect it subtly ends up turning it on its side. And, it's I just love it. I love coming in here. I love closing the door. They don't bother me in this room. People will bother me in my office. People will bother me anywhere else. No one bothers me in this room.
Right.
I put some AirPods in and music on, and I can, it's a very, for me, it's very therapeutic. It's very enjoyable.
And were we talking about? We talked about this on air. I just for a second was like, do we have this conversation before we started recording? But yeah, it is still work for you to blend and to taste and everything.
Maybe. I don't know.
At some point it is.
Well, yes, it is. But I don't, there's certain things that you do that like are not work. You just enjoy them.
Yeah, of course.
I don't consider it work because I really enjoy it. Like there are other parts of things that I do that I would say are more like work than
of course.
That is actually something that I have found to be incredibly enjoyable. A great kind of break from other stuff and there there are other things when they want me to write tasting notes. That's work. When they want me,
Natalie's not always here for that.
Yeah, I need help with that stuff. But even, and it's great. I don't mean this to say the way it's going to sound, but I love the meeting people and the people part of all of this. But the standing in a liquor store part is work. You know what I mean? Being, kind of in my own little happy spot, blending stuff and creating is not work.
Yeah.
That's very enjoyable.
And I can understand that for sure, because that is the time where you truly get to, give yourself the opportunity to put something special out there. So this Elijah Craig pick, this is the last pick I was able to go on before shutdown.
Okay.
It was actually the Friday that Whiskey Weekend this year kicked off. So yeah, this was with a group of guys in North Carolina. Will and Grease were supposed to go on it, and they couldn't last minute. So
lucky y'all.
Yeah. So I went on it with Chad Perkins, and
man, they are doing so well too.
Aren't they though?
Golly.
Yeah, they're living the dream.
They are. They are doing fantastic.
This is going to be a nice step up for you from Mahalo.
Yeah, this is beautiful. This is like, what do they call it? Almond brittle or whatever?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. What's Fred's note? Marzipan?
Oh, yeah. Did you, what was the one, Fred? I texted him. I think I saw it on Instagram. He said something tastes like or smelled of drywall dust. I was like, God, dude.
He knows his notes. He truly knows his notes.
They're his notes too.
Oh yes. I had Did you ever watch?
It's an easy drinker, right?
Yeah,
now.
it's like scary, easy to drink.
Yeah. There's an interesting little kind of like minty thing on the back end.
Yeah.
I think, or it may be the Mahalo that's like still in my mouth.
It's throwing you off. You got to take 3 hours to recuperate before you taste anything else. Did you ever watch Booze Traveler?
No.
On it was on Travel Channel, and the host he goes around the world, and well, he used to. The show's not on anymore, but he would go around the world and try different cultures, alcohol, spirits, whatever. And I have been a fan of his show for years now. And a few weeks back, I reached out to him to see if he wanted to be on the show.
Yeah.
He said absolutely.
Well, that's super cool.
So I sent him a box of samples. This was one of them.
What's his name?
That's Jack Maxwell.
Is it like Netflix or?
I think it's on Hulu.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really, really cool show.
Sounds really cool.
Yeah, he's from Boston, and just got a lot of energy, a lot of life to him. Really cool story, and having him on the show was really interesting as well.
Would they just run out of places for him to visit and drink their booze?
No, Travel Channel did that whole switch over to ghost shows.
Gotcha.
So
It happens.
So they kind of gave him the boot. But regardless, I really like this single barrel. This was the first Heaven Hill pick I'd ever been able to go on, too. I'm still trying to get my bingo card filled out with the distillery picks.
What else is on the list that has
let's see. I've done Four Roses, Knob Creek, Turkey. This was a big one.
You done Buffalo Trace?
Yeah, I've done Buffalo. Let me tell you about the last Buffalo Trace pick I went on. It was for Liquor Barn, and they do as many barrels as they can get at one time. We had it was 18 barrels that we tasted from, and it wound up with 6 different picks. So it was 3 Buffalo Trace barrels, 2 Antique 107s, and a Blanton's.
Is this pre-COVID?
Oh yeah. This was sometime maybe it was 2018.
Oh.
I can't remember. But it basically had 36 different bourbons that day because we were trying to mat cast strength.
Yeah.
And then proof down. And I had the worst case of the hiccups I've ever had in my entire life getting out of there.
It was funny. So we actually, I helped pick one yesterday.
Oh yeah.
At Buffalo Trace, and it was surprising, and I was assuming they would have to do something, and they did a phenomenal job. But that model there is very interesting. Where to your point, you get the at proof and the at barrel strength samples, but everybody tastes from the same glass,
right? And
it's on a number of occasions, you kind of show up and there's like this pre-COVID, all that stuff. You show up and there's 15 guys there is in a line going through all drinking out of the same glass, and it's kind of like,
do I really want to do
this? They always had those little, and I'm not trying to sound like a diva, like I'm not some germaphobe, like I eat boogers and all that kind of stuff. Just kidding. Just
heard it here
first. But no, like I'm not some huge germaphobe or whatever. But they always had those little plastic water cups.
Yeah, right.
And I would always just kind of put a little. I would taste out of those little. I would just pour from the glass into the water, and everybody would be like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I want to take these over here, and I want to be able to look at them side by side and not like feel like I'm taking up time in the line." So I can only imagine if there were like 10 of y'all and you had 36 different things to taste, and like y'all just it's just it's I'm sure it was fun, but it's kind of crazy, and like you sometimes figure like you lose track of like, okay, which one did I like again?
Absolutely.
Like which one of those was?
And I try to be really diligent with note taking.
Yeah.
As well on barrel picks.
So I have now this collection of because now Buffalo Trace does it too. They give you the little notebooks.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many. I think I've got like 8 to 10 Four Roses notebooks, and now Four Roses gives you a Glencairn as well. And Buffalo Trace has a nice little notebook for theirs. And
right.
I mean the the swag, the barrel pick swag is they're all stepping up their game.
Like these were my notes. This is page 1 of 3 for my
I can
notes
see
from
as
a bullet
you
pick.
get a little further along, things start to turn sideways.
They do, and
they
they also get like much shorter. Yeah. Like you're really in depth with it at first, and then you're like caramel, vanilla.
Right. At the end, it's
Toenail
like
polish.
check mark, X,
I mean,
question mark.
Especially with 18 barrels that you're picking from. I mean, it does wind up getting to that point.
You draw the emoji of the smiley face puking like that one.
I remember we had one of these barrels on this pick. We were like, if they did Elijah Craig's single barrel proof picks, it would have been killer.
Oh, okay.
And we were like, but we of course had to try and proof them all down as best we could. And
so you have to they don't proof them down for you. You proof them down yourself.
You have to kind of guess what it would be like. And so we were all going around going, what's going to be the best one proof down to 94? What's going to be the crowd pleaser? And that one that we just loved, a barrel proof,
it always
hold
happens.
up.
It always happens.
Yeah, it did not hold up at all.
And I know why they do it, because you get excited and you have a good time and you enjoy it. But I mean, this is, maybe we've talked about this before, but like in that example, like why if you're purely trying to pick the best thing for what's going to end up in the bottle.
Yeah.
After you're done, try it at barrel proof. But I mean, to begin with, like, why in the world would you taste it any other way than? And I know you and I have talked about this before, and I think it probably just shows my ignorance, which is okay because I'm full of ignorance, if that's a thing. But
which I guess in turn makes you not ignorant because you're aware of your ignorance.
Now that's so far over my head. I'm too ignorant to understand what you just said. But
this is therapy for Dixon.
It's like when creating blends or picking barrels or anything like that. And I'm not trying to justify heavy drinking by any means. But I'm fascinated with tasters and tasting panels and stuff like that will either like cut everything down to like 20% alcohol or 40 proof.
Yeah.
And B, can formulate an opinion on something, but spit.
Yeah.
You spit it out.
Right.
And, I can't tell you. I mean, just to your point, how many times have you tried something at 120 proof that turns to garbage at 90?
Yeah.
So, why would you ever evaluate something at a proof point different than you're going to release it? They're not, I don't think they're the same. I mean, maybe structurally you can agree that like if it tastes like this here, it's those things are going to be I don't know. It doesn't. I've never thought, okay, I'm going to create batch number 10, but I'm going to taste everything at 40% alcohol and then hope when we put it in there at barrel proof that it's also good. And then the spitting thing, how many times have you tried something? How many times have you taken, have you put something in your mouth and the mouthfeel was great and, and however it reacted on your palate was great and all that kind of stuff. And then you swallowed it. And after you swallowed it, you were like, oh my gosh, what the hell is that taste that's still in my mouth? Like what just happened there? Yeah. Which doesn't occur when you spit.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you spit it out, you don't get that, whatever, lingering finish, good, bad, ugly, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's just always those types of things. I am just always intrigued by that, and I think Buffalo Trace, while I love them, you go in there and you first taste these like 6 barrels of Eagle Rare at barrel proof or whatever, and you're like, oh my gosh, this one is jam, and there's all this like crazy mesquite stuff going on. You
Yeah.
get so excited about it, and then you taste them at 90 proof, and you're like, well,
Never mind.
the hell did all that go? You know?
I hate going on picks too, where it's like, what's the lesser of two evils? Like what you know, like you don't really get a great group of barrels, and you're just like, well, out of what we've gotten, this is the best one. That's only ever happened to me like once or twice, but even maybe even once, honestly. But you know, you're like, is this really? But on the opposite
I've been on
end,
a few picks, and I was like, if I was buying barrels, I probably would not be taking one. If it was my money, if I was putting up my money, I probably wouldn't be taking one. And on a few of those occasions, the barrel was selected based on age or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they were like, oh no, I want to take this for my store because it'll sell.
Yeah.
It's like, so in that case, why don't you just get a list of what was available? I mean, if that's how you're gonna pick it, like you just be like, well, I want that
Give
one.
me the oldest one.
Boom, done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, I did a Knob Creek pick at the beginning of the year for OBC, and kept it blind. I mean, that's how I prefer to do.
Sure.
You know, just with age and barrel proof and everything. I think it turned out that we picked a 13-year over a 15-year. You know, and I mean, if we had known beforehand, we probably would have gone in. I mean, not even just thinking, oh, we have to pick this one. Just going, it's a 15-year barrel. You know, that's all we're going to be able to think about.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's way better to do picks like that blind.
Yeah, but I mean, it's funny. I mean, it's the same conversation we have all the time. People are like, why don't you put, everything you do is not age stated and blah, blah. And it's like, I mean, it's because some of the, I got some old stuff that's trash, and I got some young stuff that, is amazing. I mean,
You dealt with that with Confiscated a lot.
Yeah. I mean, which is fine. I mean, I get that some people, I don't know. It's just,
No, this is not Booker's, by the way. This is a Jim Beam 11-year bottled and bond from a decanter. Travis Gintz sent me this.
Who did?
Travis Gintz.
Okay.
Cletus.
Here, wait.
Okay.
I want to pour you. I'm not gonna tell you what this is.
Okay. I did it to you, and now you got to do it to me.
No, this is funny. I was having a conversation about this today. Like, not only am I not going to tell you what this is before you have it, but I'm not going to tell you what it is after you have it. I really want. I have an opinion on this, and I want another one. And here's the deal. I'm not gonna tell you what it is. I'm not gonna tell you anything about it.
Right.
So I would just like and this is nothing that I have anything to do with. This is not something I made. This is not a blend. This is from a barrel. I'd love to know what you think the age and proof, and even if you had a guess of like it's bourbon, even a guess of the provenance of this. But this
Breaking out the fancy words.
Yeah, this has become a kind of a hot button thing here lately.
Ooh. I think it's a weeder. I'm not getting it on the back of the tongue, like you do with the rye bourbons. The corn sweetness is very present, but I don't know if that's indicative of how young it might be. It's got a really... The palate's almost like sharp, you know? Like it doesn't have a very coating mouthfeel. Maybe I've had too many things at this point, but I don't dislike it by any means. Proof-wise, I can't imagine it being much higher than 110, 115.
Okay.
See, the more I'm getting into it, the more I'm like, I kind of smell the rye now. But the palate's throwing me off. I don't dislike it, but I think it's missing something.
Yep. That's perfect. It's perfect.
And I don't know if it's more age or or a higher proof or what, but it just doesn't hit the way that I would like for it to.
That's okay. That's perfect.
That's all you were looking for.
No, I mean, this is just
validation.
It's very yeah. I mean, that's exactly where I've been with this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's so much older than you would guess.
Really?
Yeah, and it's right in that 114 proof range. I mean, I think it's 114 and a half.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know why it just doesn't, like, every time I go back to it, I'm like, it's just okay.
Yeah. And I'm guessing you tried it at different stages of its life too then. No, this
first
is
time.
First
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
Okay.
I just
Here,
got-
I'll let you pour for yourself. So this is from a Beam decanter.
Okay.
What was great about this is it was a screw top.
Huh.
So it stayed perfectly sealed until I opened it at the beginning of last month. It had full 750 milliliters.
I mean, that's just crazy.
It's unfair,
dude.
right?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the Kentucky Owl Vintage Series, where you're just blending Dusties into your
big old ceramic owl.
I almost said something about what the price on that would be, but that's a fun subject to get into. We could talk about Dry State too.
Yeah.
I'm curious about your thoughts on Dry State, because I think when I was here last, I don't even know if we were recording. Like when it not for Whiskey Weekend, because Whiskey Weekend was the last time I was here, but the last time I came I think maybe just to hang out. I think it was like right before Christmas. I think Dry State was kind of floating around in the ether.
Well, I mean, Dry State has been floating around in the ether for a long time. And I got to be honest, initially I was very skeptical of, and I think it's because I'm very, conservative and whatever. Truth be told, that bottle, that box, that the whole package for this thing is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody that it will be the centerpiece of anybody's collection.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing what that team did. I look at it. I give my opinions, but I'm not the.
You're not the design
I'm not
guy.
the creative, design guy or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was really funny, making it, because you start to think about. I mean, do people even drink stuff like that? I mean, when you buy
Yeah, of
it
course.
and you spend that money, most of the time people buy it and they, it's a display piece.
Yeah.
It's not something that you open. There's 2,000 of them for the world.
Yeah.
That's it. They're all hand numbered, and it's not something that you're just like, well, it's Thursday. I got that fancy box the other night. Let's crack that sucker open and sit out back and listen to Kenny Chesney or whatever. So, but I was adamant about making a blend that when people do on that occasion, whether it's now or 10 years from now or 20 years from now or whatever, when they are compelled to open that bottle,
Yeah.
that the product in that bottle will not disappoint them.
Yeah.
And then they will, be, and what's been crazy is, that's a scary level of like pressure.
Yeah. That's a hugely different project from anything that you've
Well,
done
yeah,
before.
and then and then you're like, okay, well, anyway, it was it's been so well received with the people that have already tasted it. We're doing a lot of these virtual tastings. I did one a couple days ago. I have 2 tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. I think 3 on Friday, a bunch next week, and different markets and stuff like that. But the response has just been phenomenal.
That's great.
And the response when this has come out and we were unsure how of the, I think 1,700 bottles, 1,600 bottles, something like that are for U.S. distribution. Mm-hmm. How quickly they would move. Yeah. The orders are flying in. Just crazy. And then we're also we've got 5 bottles that are making their way to New York right now. And I'm doing the inside the bottles. I'm also doing, in these particular bottles, I'm doing a handwritten note, blah, blah, all this kind of stuff. But they're going to the Christie's auction house. So 5 of these bottles will be auctioned off at Christie's. Minimum bid is, starting bid is $1,920.
I wasn't ready for whatever number you were about to throw out there.
But what's amazing is it's just, I know I fuss a lot, but the Stoli team and some of the, they wanted to do this, hook up with Christie's, this auction thing, and long and short of it is that all the proceeds from those 5 bottles auctioned through Christie's, that money is going to be given to the National Restaurant Association Restaurant Relief Fund, and they asked me. They said, "Dixon, is there something that you're passionate about right now?" And I was like, "Absolutely." It hits close to home and all this stuff. So, or this, I'm probably not saying it right, but it's the Restaurant Relief Fund. Yeah. And which is just for them to take 5 of those and do that and make that donation. I just think that's super cool. And they let me, so I'm really excited about, putting this out and the box that this thing comes in.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Is that it right there?
That's one of them. Yeah.
Can we try some?
Sure.
I'm dying to. Even since just seeing that it was a thing.
Yeah, that's my. I have. I don't know. Maybe there's one of those, but yeah, I have. I gotta get more. I don't have enough for all my tastes.
Oh. But we can try it.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Okay. I'm scared. I'm legitimately scared because of how expensive it is just to hold it.
Oh, that one's not. That one's already open.
Yeah, that's true, but still.
That one's just mine sitting here. That's not.
Whoa.
Now you got you got a lot of diversity there in front of you. 1979 funky decanted beam, which is just awesome.
And then also this Kentucky Owl Dry State.
Yeah, it was cool.
No big deal.
I got to taste this a couple nights ago with some guys from Indiana. And there was a group from big and like a kind of part of a bourbon society, and then a big retailer and stuff. And they were a lot of fun. And one guy was like, hey, Dixon, if I didn't know what this was, I would have thought it was kind of something a little bit vintage, something a little old school. Yeah. And I was like, well, there's some old barrels in there for sure.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So the Kentucky Owl Vintage Series has kind of already come to life.
Well, there's stuff pushing 17 years in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you were talking dusty.
No.
Dusty stuff. Which would be funny just to see you pulling from your collection. You've got all these decanters and whatever, and you're just blending them into.
Just throwing them in stuff. I put it all back in a barrel.
This is a pre-probe.
Stuck the barrel away.
This is a pre-prohibition E.H. Taylor. Wow. I need to spend time with this one. I can't not.
Well, I mean, fine. I'm drinking more of this.
Yeah, you go for it, man. That's what it's here for. I also brought this. I just because I didn't know if you had had it or not.
No, I don't even know if I've seen that.
Really?
Yeah.
So I had a listener who sent me an entire box of Texas whiskeys.
So 2 out of your 3 listeners have sent you stuff, is what you're saying. You got
2 out of my 3
stuff
yeah.
and the Texas stuff. That other guy, what a jerk.
The third one's my dad. So
No, then you're not a jerk. Just kidding. Future grandpa.
that's how it feels sometimes, though. Sometimes it's like I'm just screaming into the void. But yeah,
Whatever.
no. Wow, that is.
This looks like it came from Texas. You know what I mean? Like,
But he sent me a bunch of. I mean, like when I say a box, I meant like a full, like 3-foot diameter box. Can you say diameter with boxes? I don't know. But I mean, just exclusive releases from Texas, sample bottles. I mean, I must have wound up with, honestly, like $300 worth of whiskey
that's cool.
in the box itself. It was really special. And I've not had a whole lot of experience with Texas whiskeys either. So it was a very welcome surprise.
Where in Texas is Denison, Texas?
You know, I don't know. So what we're talking about, sorry for the, the listeners.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
It's the Iron Root.
There are people.
Maybe, yeah. Hi, Dad.
Explain to your dad where this. Yeah, your dad and the guy in Hawaii have no idea where Denison, Texas is.
Boy, you are really punching down today, Dixon. I don't know what's up with that, but no, it's the Iron Root Icarus. Yeah, the straight corn, 105 proof, from 2019, 39 months old.
So Denison, Texas is a little bit north of Dallas. So you go up. It's really close to the Texas-Oklahoma border.
Mm.
Yeah, there's your fun fact for the day.
No, we've all learned something.
Yeah.
No, but I wanted you to try that too. But you keep drinking as much of that beam as
That
you
beam
want.
is so good.
I know, right? The dry state's unbelievable too. Really, that is phenomenal.
It was a fun blend to put together, and you know, it's. I will tell you that.
Do I need to cut this? Whatever you're about to say.
I don't know. You can decide. But I've never really had the thought in the back of my mind always like about the price tag.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid of or ashamed of, or I don't have a problem with the price tag of dry state and the limited volume that we did, the quality of the liquid, the quality of the packaging. And I think that, it's a collector's item. It's a, whatever. I mean, it's, and I stand behind the liquid that I put. I mean, that's the, I can't. That's the best that I can do, and I'm very pleased with it.
I think you should be.
But I've never been in the, like working through and been like, I don't mean to say like having that hanging over my head, but like the knowledge that this is significantly more expensive than anything we've ever released, and we still release very expensive stuff. And, I've made jokes with a lot of people that like, they're like on our production calls, like with the team, marketing calls, and like how's the dry state blend coming? And I'm like, well, I think it's up to about 825, and I gotta find another, it was just because it's like kind of weird. Like I've never, that's just never been something that was, I don't know, but if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
It's just so, bizarre.
I totally am imagining you with like a, those like dry erase posters that they get for kids. Like they've raised enough money.
Right.
With a big
It's a
thermometer on it.
Thing, I'm like, oh, we're getting,
you're
like,
always like marking it up with a red
shading
marker.
a little higher. It's like a telethon.
Except you're blending, and it's just for you. You haven't told anybody about it. It's just in your office.
Had an internal thermometer. It's like, oh, we just call it another square red. We're getting closer to our goal.
No. Take one away. I don't know how much subtractive work you do with your blends, though. I mean, like, you kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but I mean, like, how how frequently are you taking steps back?
All the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, and I think, I'm not trying to sound like some kind of expert. I'm not. I'm but I think if when I'm doing it, I've got to be very honest with myself, and I also I also do not I cannot rush it. I mean, it's not one of those things like I don't say this has got to get done. This got to get done. This got to get done. But if you can't go into it, in my experience today, you can't go into it like you got it all figured out already.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like 1 + 1 + 1 equals perfect.
Yeah. And you've said that before too, especially on the show.
Like kind of embrace the screw ups and figure out, why. I wonder, and then there's a lot of like side things going on. So like you have this blend, let's say you got 4 distillates there, and it's like, okay, I like where this is going. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to up the percentage of this one in here to try to enhance it to go this, and it goes completely sideways.
Yeah.
And so then you take the 2 distillates that are in there, and you create just I just do it in a glass of like the ratio, this and this.
Yeah.
And it's like, why, are these 2 reacting in such a way that's like throwing this thing off? And a lot of times, they don't, some don't play together the way others do.
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it is. It's a few forward and 1 back, and a couple more forward and 3 back, and
I love the idea of, and it's something that's totally 100% unattainable because it's the example that I'm thinking of keeps it from being a reality. But you know how musicians will put out box sets that's got all the scrap takes or the B-sides that never made it and everything. I love that idea of like the Kentucky Owl Reject release.
I got a million of them. There's a bunch of them on the table right there. Those are all batch 10 rejects. I mean, as they develop, but
I'll taste through them and see if you were crazy or not.
Probably. But it's it's and I have them from I have them from every blend starting at at 2,
right,
at batch 2 of just like this one didn't work, this one didn't work, this one didn't work, or some of them. But I mean, this is the best way that I can. I mean, I've described it before. Is it like the other day, my son was painting this picture for my wife, and he had this big white canvas, and he painted like a flower in the middle of the canvas.
Yeah.
And he was done. He thought he was done, and it was like everything was green. It was only green on there. And I was like, we gotta fill up this space. And he was like, well, I painted him on a flower. And I was like, I know, but like you've got all this space and you don't. And so then he goes over and he paints, a big like red ladybug on one side. Well, then all you see is this big red ladybug. And so then he goes over and paints a sun on the other side. And then you start to have balance. And then, it's like the flower, maybe paint a couple more flowers with different colors. And so he puts, and then you start like building to something. And it's not about, you are looking at the bigger picture, but in looking at the bigger picture, you're saying, okay, there's too much focus here, or too much, I'm drawn to this. And so you try to even it up with adding here. And like, that's how I think of like this blending thing.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't have what 10's going to be done in my mind, and I'm trying to figure out how to get to that taste.
Right.
You're just constantly saying, okay, I like where this is going, but I need to soften it here. I need to take this like punch out of here. Or, oh shit, we got to cover that up. That was really bad. So you take 2 steps back and go in a different direction. Does that, you know what I'm saying?
No, absolutely. But it also, I have this question because I've heard the story of, you went to the group of folks who were helping you with the blend for batch 1, and you had what was essentially the final blend, right? And you gave it to Jim Rutledge, and he jumped for joy, metaphorically, and said, "This is it." What did it take for you, and kind of at what point did you get to where you were like, I'm fine on my own with the blend, I don't have to get somebody else's approval? I mean, was it after a couple of batches, or were you...
I don't know. I mean, like, I didn't, like, batch 1 was, I did not employ the same strategy with batch 1 that I did like with batch 10. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't the same. I kept watching these barrels and tasting these barrels individually. And then all of a sudden I was like, I'm going to put a few of these together, and I put them together, and I was like, this can really work. This is solid, or whatever. And so, and then I put the right ones together, and I was like, I'm done. I want to see what anybody, says about this. I've said probably here and to you and whatever that, it was like 2 was the most nerve-wracking thing I've ever done, batch number 2, because 1, people enjoyed 1 was such a success. We did great with 1, and so naturally if you screw up 2, you're never going to sell 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever. So but I guess with 2, I just kind of was to the point where I was like, I'm going with my gut on this thing, and I'm going to make this whiskey for me, and I'm going to put together what I think is, and I hope that people align with it, and they did. I mean, I remember making one little tweak, dropping a couple things and adding a couple things, and Sherry said, you nailed it, and I mean, I knew I had hit it, and my partners at the time, we're right there behind it or whatever. But I don't know. I still don't. I'm happy to kind of share stuff with people when I'm done.
Sure.
And I'm happy if they enjoy it, and I'm okay with if they don't. But I mean, after that first time around, when somebody says, you know what you're doing, and keep doing it. I just decided that's exactly what I was going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, not. I don't know. I mean, I guess the point being, like, I don't. As long as I'm good with it, until somebody tells me, you really suck at this, and you need to go like find another job. That's. As long as I'm happy with it, I'm fine.
Yeah, when you've got guys who openly weep on a podcast because they've been gifted a bottle of Batch 9 by the guy who
oh my god
blended Batch 9.
I need to tell you that story.
Is there something else?
There's more to that story.
Okay,
but first everything's bigger in Texas.
we finally got around to tasting the iron root. Wait, is it iron? Yeah, iron root Icarus. I keep wanting to say Harbinger because that's the big bourbon release that they have. But this is straight corn whiskey.
Straight corn whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it's 105 proof. It's 39 months. But it's funny, like I was thinking that it had like almost like a mezcal kind of note on the nose. And then it said that it's in peat casks. And so it's got to be...
I wait until you taste it.
Okay.
I've kind of come around to peat a little bit. I'm not a Scotch guy by any means. But the guy who sent me the Mahalo Bourbon, one of my 3 listeners, he sent me a bunch of
Hey, Tim.
Thanks for listening. Like, share, comment, subscribe. But he sent me a bunch of cask strength Scotch samples as well. And the big one was Octomore. And I was like, the rumors always swirl around Octomore that it's the grand poobah of peated scotches. And I was not ready for it. But once I had it, I was like, it's not that bad. It's just not something I would drink normally. Kind of this in the same vein. I mean, it does taste very Scotchy, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's that. There's the peat, the peat that gives it the Scotchy. This is much heavier than any Scotch I've ever. This is heavy. It's but I don't dislike this at all. Mm-mm. I mean, it's another thing. Like, I don't know that I would be like, oh, like if this was in my house, I would pour it for people to be like, you want to taste something that different?
Yeah. And that's kind of why I brought it too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that I would ever. I mean, I shouldn't say I wouldn't ever. I mean, this is. I do not dislike this at all.
Yeah. And
I'm not like I'm not like this is the greatest whiskey I've ever tasted, but
you have to be in a mood for it.
And I don't know. I'm for things that are kind of this unique. Mm-hmm. Like, it's almost kind of hard to I was like, I'm not sure I've tasted something quite like this before.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I can't
corn weeded.
Yeah, I can't. You can't put this in like that. Like, this bucket says, "Oh, I would drink that. I would love that." This bucket is like, "Oh, never again." And this bucket is like, this is just, this is
it's somewhere in between.
No. I mean, it's good. It's just different. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
If you poured this in a glass for me and said, "Tell me what this is," and I had no idea, I'm not sure what I would come up with.
I think I would have just straight up said a peated Scotch.
Maybe a cask strength peated Scotch or something like that. But the notes, like, I was thinking Texas like mezcal kind of
Yeah.
thing, which is a very smoky thing as well. But I don't. Yeah. Wow.
It is different.
That's a new bucket.
I guess this is something I like now, but didn't think I would before. Bucket.
Yeah. No, I loved just getting back to that Beagle Rare thing.
Yeah, tell me about this because you said that there's something.
Well, the only
haven't
thing that was
said
kind
about
of
it.
crazy was that like I have these videos. I made a video.
Matt actually might have told me about this, but I want you to tell it too.
Yeah, because I'm a total moron. So I don't remember exactly how this goes, but I have a sample of the original Beagle Rare, the original.
Yeah.
And then when I got the bottle, when it came to me,
Yeah.
I did like a little 6 or 7 minute video of a side by side, like tasting, doing all this stuff, and it was pretty funny, but pretty bad. And then I made multiple videos during the blending process, or as I was kind of manipulating this thing, and then a finished video, and then I could not. He was like, just stick it on a thumb drive and send it to me, and I was like, oh, sure, easy, no problem. And 2 weeks later, I could not get that done. I don't know. I mean, from my phone
To the
computer sometimes would work, but from the computer to the thumb drive never worked. That, or it may be on that thumb drive 942 times because of how many times I dragged and dropped or whatever. I'm not really sure. And
it goes from just like an error message to just going, what are you doing?
I was just the spinning wheel of death, and I was like, gosh, this is so freaking frustrating. I can't deal with this. Like, I had to write him a note and send him a bottle. I was like, dude, I can't tell you how sorry I am, and you should have picked somebody that I was like, I have trouble checking my email. I'm really sorry.
But you heard the way that he was that he talks about you, though. I mean, it's the same thing we always talk about when we hang out.
It's not real. I can't believe that. I mean, I just don't. He's good, dude. He's just like anybody
great guy.
else. Like, but I mean, people are, I was like, look, if you call me Mr. Dedman one more time, we're never talking again. I was like, do you want to talk to Mr. Dedman? I can walk. I know where he is. You're more than welcome to talk to my dad, but you got to cut this stuff out. But that project was fun. It couldn't have ended at a worse time, because there was like a bunch of momentum, and then the freaking wheels fell off the world, or whatever.
Entire world.
Yeah, but it was great. The idea that at one point we were talking about getting all those people together, and which I hope will happen. The new project, I don't know where that is or what's going on with it, but I don't know. That was a cool thing. But my inability to do anything technological was on full display at the end.
Sorry, I've moved back into the dry state.
Really, I'm moved back into the Texas stuff.
I just finished it because I wanted to go back to the dry state. But I want to say this too. I like how the first episode we ever recorded together, which was almost 2 years ago. We were very just professional and like, here's the questions, here's the answers and everything. But I like that, with or without mics, we can now sit down and hang out and have a good conversation. And, you know, it's been nice to get to be friends over the past couple of years instead of just like, hey, I want to interview you for my podcast and talk about your process behind developing your bourbon.
You know, this is going to sound obnoxious.
Great. Here we
And
go.
I'm certainly, like, hear me out, because I'm not trying to make this about me, but, you know, it's been a very interesting ride for me to be kind of like all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, but, you know, to start, meeting people and I mean, I come from the world of hospitality.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, you talk to everybody and everybody, you know, and then you get into this world and everybody starts treating you a little bit differently. And, you know, and you know, there's and I don't mean this in a bad way, but like a level of respect that everybody tries to pay, you know, and which is very nice, but it's very, it's just hard to kind of navigate.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, when you know, we first talked and a lot of the first visits that I went on and places I went and stuff like that, I mean, you know, I didn't really know how to act. I didn't really know how to interact. You know, and it was and it what's kind of been very, you know, I mean, it's just, you know, to really start to build new relationships and like, you know, and get comfortable and I think people have become much more comfortable in the way that this is going to sound really obnoxious, but like in the way they approach me, because they're not like, you know, they realize like I'm not some kind, I'm not some, I'm just an, you know, and
You're just another guy.
Well, but you know, it's like when you know, you were like, hey man, I need to talk to you about something. Do you have a few minutes? I just really need to talk to you about something. And I was like, sure, you know, not, you know.
Yeah.
But when you told me that y'all were having a baby, and I was like, you know, this guy thinks enough of me. That's a whole nother level of like relationships and getting to know people and sharing stuff with people and whatever. And I love what, you know, this has kind of evolved into, and for me, you know, I've decided that there are some things, you know, when you can't build a relationship, when you really are just a guy in a store standing there, you know, whatever, that's not my thing, you know, but, you know,
There isn't the back and forth, I think, with us anymore, where it's like trying to figure out, you know, whether or not I can come and talk with you or hang out or record anything. It's just kind of like,
oh shit, hey. Sorry, I didn't mean to break that up, but I almost grabbed the Mahalo and caught myself.
Be careful there, Dixon. But I mean, I just texted
Sorry,
you.
Tim.
I just texted you and I'm like, hey, you know, thinking about coming up. What do you think about that? And you're like, okay, works for me.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's much less. I think the word for it is formal, and we have gotten the chance to hang out and be friends.
100%. But you know, I feel like, I don't know how, if at all, but if I can help you in any way, and if that means sitting down and tasting stuff for an afternoon or whatever, you know, like I want to make sure to do that because of how good you've been to me and how you've become a great friend of mine, and I want to help.
And you've always been great to me too in the show, and I mean, you are very
I don't have one of
generous
those
with.
sweet T-shirts.
I can hook you up. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, spoiler alert: I'm wearing my own merchandise on the while I'm sitting here with him.
I like your BBC hat though. I think I have that.
Isn't it
same
cool?
one.
Yeah, I had a couple, and I got one that got really really worn out because I wore it to like work out in and everything. And I was at Bourbon and Beyond last year, and they had their tent.
Yeah.
And they were giving away free hats, and I was like, I need a replacement. I don't have to pay for it or anything.
Yeah, they made me pay for mine.
Anyway, I think we'll go ahead and finish off here so we can chat a little bit more and drink a little bit more.
Yeah, okay.
Too, if that's all right. But as always, Dixon, thank you so much, buddy, for sitting down for the pod.
My pleasure. Love it.
My thanks once again to Dixon for letting me come and hang out with them, chat a little bit about what's been going on, and just, share some good whiskey and some really good whiskey for that matter, and some great whiskey stories as well. I always just look forward so much to being able to go and hang out with him and just, as I was saying in the interview, or really the hangout kind of, our relationships changed a bunch, and it's been nice to see that change over time. And, it's fun to be able to go up and just bring some bourbon with me and say, here, try this, instead of having to ask questions for a podcast. But still, I enjoy that just as much. So we, every now and then, do a segment on the show called Barrel Rings, where listeners will give us a holler at our voicemail number, which is 859-428-8253. Like I said, you can leave us a voicemail. We'll listen to it on the show. And this week, I'm going to be listening to one from Papa Ritter himself. So, take it away, Papa Ritter.
Hey, everybody. Papa Ritter here. Happy Labor Day. I hope everybody's doing well. Straight off of Derby weekend, and my latest episode that comes out at a future date. This is my bourbon podcast. I can't wait for everybody to hear it. So, hey, Perry. How you doing? That's good. Sean, great to hear you. Got a quick joke for everybody that Sarah told us just a few minutes ago. And you can use it, but you have to credit her. Where do cow farts come from? The derriere. That's it. Tip your waitress at the door and have a great day. We'll talk to everybody soon. Love you all and cheers. Bye.
Thanks, Papa Ritter, for sending in your barrel rings. That's a pretty good joke, Sarah. So thanks for that. Once again, if you want to leave us a voicemail, you can do so at 859-428-8253. So we're going to go ahead and wrap things up with tips and bits, where we recommend things, not always bourbon related, but every now and then they are. This week, though, not bourbon related, I am going to recommend it's something that's a little bit more niche, but I've really enjoyed, and it's just one issue out so far, Batman 3 Jokers, which is a story that has been teased by DC Comics for a while, and it is truly a fantastic story so far. Like I said, only one issue in, but man, it's some high quality storytelling, and the artwork is fantastic as well. I know that a lot of people don't, read comic books, but it's something that's special to me, and it's something that I always want to share with people, just in case. And something I want to check out. I haven't actually gotten around to do this just yet, but this popped up on my feed. I actually can't remember how I came across this. It's a new bourbon podcast. It's called Bourbon with Friends. And I haven't given it a listen just yet. If anybody else has, please let me know what you think about it. And I'll go in and check it out. Maybe I'll report back next week on what Bourbon with Friends is like. And I think that does it for this week's episode. Thank you all so much for listening, as you always do. And for those of you who are first-time listeners of the show, we really do appreciate all that. If you want to follow up with me personally, I am at pritter1492 on all social media channels. If you want to follow up with the show itself, it is at My Bourbon Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review on the iTunes podcast app. We will actually read any reviews that we receive there here on the show. And it looks like this week we don't have a new review, but maybe next week. So if you want to get that in, once again, the iTunes podcast app. And we appreciate everybody who takes the time to do that. You can find all of our apparel and merchandise at bourbonshop.threadless.com. I've been trying to get a sale up there for a while. Haven't quite gotten around to it. Maybe I'll do something in honor of Baby Bear, Baby Ritter, popping up here very soon. Let's see, what else? What all else can you do for us? Barrel Rings, of course, 859-428-8253. I also go live every Thursday evening on YouTube. It's youtube.com/This Is My Bourbon Podcast at 8:30 Eastern Time here in the United States. And it's always a good time. We're getting really close to 500 subscribers, which is, for as long as the podcast has been going on, not a whole lot, but I do appreciate everybody who subscribes over there. Once we get to 500, I'm actually going to be doing a little giveaway to one of the lucky subscribers. It's going to be some samples, I believe. I think that's what I'm going to do, but we'll figure that out together. And then last but not least, patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast is where you can become a patron of the show for as little as $1 a month. And at $5 a month, you get all the bonus content, like the pregame chats, which come out the day before each episode, and the last call, which comes out the day after each episode. And we really appreciate all of our patrons, of course, not just the ones who are there at some of the higher tiers, but, even if it's just $1 a month, cannot say thank you enough to those folks. It's really, really just so cool to see anybody support the show at any capacity. And even if you can't, telling your friends, sharing it around on social media, all that good stuff, it's just a great way to get people listening to the show and a part of the family. And you know what? That does it for this week's episode. And thank you all once again so much for listening. Next week, I'm not sure. I'm sure Swan will be back, though, by then. And I think that does it for me. I'll see you all next week. But until then, I'm Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.